All systems go. Clear for takeoff.
What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo. We're back, round 3 edition for the Scottish Open PGA Showdown. Of course, we have my guy Hoop, as always, back here on the Mayo Media Network. We have the YouTube Mayo Media Network SHIPIT Nation collaboration, so we'll be back talking through all things round 3. Interesting round 2, close calls today. A lot of people out there, within the bubble. We talked about. I was on yesterday with you guys talking about stacking the morning wave. Very, very solid production out of that morning wave. Some good bounce back candidates. We talked on the show yesterday about Hovland, Scott, Connors, Lowry. Those 4 guys all pretty much came through. I know Scott is a sore spot for some because bogey-free 4 under through 17, needed to come out clean, makes the bogey on the last. Some other guys in chat, Landa, my boy, says, yeah, we were on Bobby Mack. Yeah, still got him. 90-1 with 8 places. Hopefully he can make some moves over this weekend. We'll talk about the weather here in a second. My guy Kevin had to chime back in. Rye goes down, Minwoo up. Rye, really hurtful today. Had him in one of my better lineups that needed him to come through. He missed the 10-footer on the par 5. He makes the 10-footer for par save to even give us a chance on the last hole, and then misses a 9-footer. But again, you want the guys putting it to 10 feet, giving themselves the opportunities. It's just the way it goes. It's not ideal. It's not helpful, but that's how it goes. And then said, Sahith killed me. Brandon Wu killed me. Hoopster, bring you in, man. What's going on this fine Friday afternoon? It's the weekend, baby. We're here at the cottage. What's going on?
Yeah, so, I mean, the nice thing about round 2 was that nobody, took off and said, all right, I'm winning this thing. Benny On looked like he was going to, set that pace, and then he fell back a little bit. Rory looked like he might have, had the chance to take off a little bit, and he came back. So, the stuff about, Bobby Mack, I mean, only 6 back. I mean, he's still right in there. These guys at 4 under. Saying this is really wide open. Rory's obviously sitting at 10. You know what happens to him when he has a lead going into the weekend. Typically doesn't work out all that well. So overall for the main slate, we got a lot of guys live, I think, to win this thing. For Showdown tomorrow, I think it's going to be a little bit interesting because it appears there's some weather coming, so they really jammed up all the tee times. Everyone's teeing off within 2 hours of each other, so there's not going to be any sort of tee time advantage. So we just play it straight up, play the guys that we like, I think, for round 3.
And yeah, that's twofold. One, that takes away from any angle of weather stacking or edges and things like that. Well, for the most part, at least we'll have a look at it here in a second. But just to note, I mean, they're teeing off pretty much within the same range. But the other thing is that you just brought up, people were asking in our Discord over at shipitnation.com about what about 5 of 6s this week? And if it does get tough, I'm not sure if you've looked ahead as far as Sunday yet. I know we're just talking for Saturday here, but the Sunday wind looks insane. And I don't even know if maybe that had something to do with it too, where they just have to make sure they get round 3 in, because then they have more leeway on what they do with round 4. But the point being, if that's really tough, we know placement points become so much more important. And I don't think the main tournaments, there's plenty of 6 of 6s are enough out there still. But I'm just saying, if you're in a smaller field, I'm in some of the King of the Desert qualifiers with 36 people or whatever. There's not many people even with a 6 of 6. And remember that if just one guy of their 6 of 6 goes way backwards, that's a problem. And my 5 of 6 holding at 20, most of my 5 of 6s, at least in that one, in the example I'm giving, is Adam Scott. He put up a pretty good score and was that close. People always forget that when they have to battle back to the cut line like that, there's 4 birdies in that round that came with that for scoring. That all adds up. So we'll see how it shakes out over the weekend. But any large field tournaments, things like that, it's not going to come through for you. You're going to need to have a 6 of 6. Hopefully you still have some if you put in for MME and stuff like that. But let's go to the weather here, Hoop. Let's talk about it. I didn't pull it up yet. We're using, we've been looking at the North Berwick Tower for Windfinder. I'm just going to pull it up here quickly and see if we see anything. You mentioned the tee times being bumped up. I don't see, I didn't see, earlier when I was looking, anything else that was too extra. It looks pretty windy overall. It looks like about 10 to 15 miles per hour, nothing too crazy sustained. Wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour. And then it looks like around 2 o'clock-ish is where maybe they're seeing some of that weather come in. But yeah, if you look at Sunday still, 26 to 31 miles per hour, 32 sustained with gusts up to 43. So Sunday looks like it's just going to be absolutely nuts. Give me your thoughts on this weather here. Anything you're going to attack from that angle at all? If you had 50 lineups, 150 lineups, anything there? If not, let's just move on and go through these tiers.
Yeah, it's just going to be tough with the tee times being very jammed together. I mean, it's going to be hard. And I don't think we really have the tee times at this point either. So a lot of times, I mean, it would be very hard to identify an advantage. So I'll be playing it straight up. I mean, it should be pretty difficult playing conditions tomorrow. And this course, it only plays as hard as the weather allows it to. So if you do have these conditions, that's when this course does get more difficult. So maybe we look to guys that play better in more difficult, nasty type conditions. We saw, JT last year was dominant when the conditions got really difficult. Obviously different guy this year. He has not been great. So maybe we look at some guys that play better in difficult conditions. That's the only thing that I'll be really applying the weather to tomorrow.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's interesting because I think last year the chat's talking about Brian's probably playing catch up here. Couldn't stay, like Hoop just talked about this. It's definitely a spot. The guy's T29 or whatever. He can find his way up the board with plenty of time left. Still 2 full rounds, yeah. But it's funny that he's the example we're using. And I obviously want him to move up. I've got him in my lineups. I bet him at 90-1 with 8 places each way. I'm saying, I think though, Hoop, it was Bobby Mack last year at one of the majors, made the cut and then completely went backwards. Almost was as bad as a 5 or 6. He shot like 8 over one day and really bad the next as well. So some people will probably remember that, but we were saying, I guess we should have went with the other guy that, that missed the cut. I think it was like Noren versus Bobby Mack. Everyone's like, yes, I'm on the Bobby Mack side. He made it through. And then he almost did worse than Noren, and Noren missed the cut. So it was like one of those things. You just never know how it's going to go. And Sean brings up the good point we just talked about with, live for a ship. We'll see. But, we'll see what happens over the weekend. And again, I think it depends totally on the size of the tournament you're in. But top of the board, we'll go by pricing for DK Hoop. But before we do, you mentioned it, like Rory, Hatton, Tom Kim, Benny and Sam Burns putted very well today to move his way up the board. Some of the other guys like Patty the Batty, people continue to not play this guy or complain about this guy and shoots another 4 under round. Just no problems whatsoever. Great stats across the board. Scotty Scheffler, mind you, so Scotty Scheffler, 5 under, bogey free. Would it surprise you to know that he still lost strokes putting at minus 0.2, almost nothing. He almost got back to even. We could even give him even, but for me, not the best to see that still. It's just continuous with this guy. So anything you want to mention with the top of the board as I check out how round 2 ended for me?
Yeah, like I said, a lot of these guys came all the way, back. No one took off. Benny on came, he was 9 under. Rory looked like he was gonna, kind of take off. He came back, so it leaves a lot of guys back in play in terms of who can go out and win this event. In terms of just the leaderboard, big names up there. You got Rory, you got Hatton, who I think ends up winning this thing. I don't know what his current odds are, but I think Hatton's going to win. Tom Kim's played well back-to-back days. He has not been playing well overall. Benny on it at 7.5. You got Sam Burns, who I just won't play. This slate's shaping up really nicely for me because there's a lot of guys at the top of the leaderboard that I just feel comfortable fading or being off or under the field on. That includes Burns, Harmon, Harrington, like you said, continues to play well, but I'm not going there. So a lot of guys that are at the top of the leaderboard that I will be fading. One that's a little bit down there, at 7 under, Scotty Scheffler, I will not be fading in. I'll continue to play him. He was in my core yesterday. I talked about it. Like, he was not great round 1. You knew he was making a run in round 2, and he did just that. So, for me, I love him. I'll obviously give it to you, and you can kind of, talk about, the guys up here. Not sure if that's me or... Well,
I think we're back.
Yep. All right. Back in action.
I think it was me getting excited. Joanne says the header, the window behind you should be solid to the wall plate. This is like I'm at the cottage, which is down the hill there. The trailers are over here. And this is like the house in the middle of everything. And we're actually renovating it. It's going through the renovation right now for my sister and brother-in-law to set it up where they'll have like a room and a kitchen and everything like that. So it's an interesting setup.
Building his empire right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, it's weekend stuff, man. I'm gonna just kick back with the drinks and let them do all the hard work. It's their house, right? So, but just looking at it, someone asked about round 2, and then we'll get into the tiers here. But like that was the thing. The calls on the show yesterday: Hovland, Hatton. My best lineup was Hovland, Hatton, Tom Kim, and then it had Fox, Eckroat, who was a hero at the end. Even made an eagle there, got him to 50, almost 49.55, and it just rounded out with Yannick Paul. You had to have Hojgaard. He ended up going. Nikolai, sorry. He went 4% owned, 64.65 points. Had most of the other stuff with him. All those calls from the show yesterday were definitely good, but got to do it again today. Get back to it. There's another 50K up top. There's more mega satellites for next week. There's a lot of good things going on. So I have nothing to add to what you went through, Hoop. I heard everything you talked about with all the stuff with Rory up there, and you think Hatton's going to win, and there's lots of chasers that can get into the mix. But let's talk about these tiers. It's funny, too, because side note, so Scotty Scheffler is the most expensive, 11.3. We just talked about his putting, but quick note, not sure if you saw this. I tweeted it out. The Open pricing came out while you were recording the MMA show. If you guys haven't done so and you're playing some MMA this weekend, go over to the Ship It Nation YouTube channel. Hoop and our guy Big Marley broke down the entire slate just about an hour and a half ago. But it came out, Hoop. It's $12,500 for Scotty Scheffler, and they brought in a $5,500 range. So they've changed the pricing to, instead of being 6K stone minimum, they brought it down to 5,500, but they boosted Scotty to 12.5 for the Open. Thoughts on that?
Love it.
You like that?
I think the pricing should be more dynamic like that. I think it's great. I'd like to see it in some other sports too. MMA, I think they can do more dynamic pricing. So I'm happy they did that. I think the min price on DK every single week should be 5K. Entice people to take chances down there. Entice the people. Like at 6K, no one's playing those guys. They should get some ownership. Like those guys, the crap of the crap in these events should get some ownership. At 6K, just no one plays them. Bring it down to 5, entice people, and adjust accordingly. Like entice people to play these crappers. And by lowering the price, you do that. So I think this is a good first step in the right direction. And then elevating the price of these top end guys is the right move too. Get some of these guys with 13K. Scotty Scheffler should be a 13K guy. The shitty dudes in this field should be 5K.
Yeah, so they got room to go 500 more either way. And that's funny you said that, because that is kind of what makes it interesting, right? You have to adapt and see what others do. And then there could be like pretty solid opportunities here. If everybody wants to play Alex Fitzpatrick at 5,500 just to fit in Scotty, then that leaves balanced builds more open, whereas they used to be more popular, but now it feels like it's easier to go. So someone said to me on Twitter that's hard to play Scotty, or you can't play him. I think it's so easy to play him. I've had multiple people hit me in the DMs already sending full lineups of Scotty lineups saying, look how easy it is to build with Scotty. Again, it's all what you feel comfortable with down at the bottom, but point being, definitely like them switching it up, doing something out of the ordinary, something different, and then it sets us up for future potential, like you said, to be able to have these changes, because then people actually have to make a stand. The one thing I didn't check yet is what's the breakdown of guys at 6,900 and below now. I hope it's still solid where they did spread this out, and then there is actual opportunities to play a bunch of different guys down there, which would then take some ownership away from the guys up above. So we'll talk more about that next week. We'll have you guys covered. Of course, if you haven't yet done so, go to shipitnation.com. Check out the site. Got everything up there tonight. We're going to have everything up there for round 3. Lots going on with MMA. Baseball is back. Huge slate today. Some weather stuff, all that. We've got the core reports up. We've got the player pools. We've got the projections updated. All the tools, pitcher rankings, hitter rankings, everything that you guys can need, everything you need to have success with DFS. So check it out, shipitnation.com. Hoop, Scotty Scheffler, 11.3. Let's go down to Max Homa, 9K. What are you doing here, this 9K and above range?
Yeah, a lot of clear plays and I guess fades or underweight stances for me. Going to play Scotty. 11.3 is way too cheap. I haven't looked at his odds in terms of winning or, top 5, top 10, but I'm guessing probably pretty massive, favorite to finish in the top 10 of this event. I mean, he's been a machine. Let me continue to talk about it. I just wanted to pull it up and see if I can get it real quick. Minus 275 to finish in the top 10. Like, that's crazy number for him. He's sitting at 7th. Like, just want to keep playing him. I mean, he had the slow round 1, turned it on round 2. I'm going to be on him. If deciding, you can play Scotty and Rory, and you could probably fit them in the same lineup. If deciding between the two, it's definitely Scotty for me. I think this is, the typical Rory, comes back down spot tomorrow and then makes a little bit of a run to make it seem like he was in contention again on Sunday. It's just how it's been with him for months. So I will be playing into that narrative. Definitely Scotty over Rory. Ricky Fowler at 10-2. He's fine. I don't love the price at 10-2 on him. He kind of strikes me as a guy that's going to grind out like 1 under, 2 under for the next couple rounds. I don't know if that'll be enough. Xander, I like a ton though at 9-8. -4. We've seen him in these spots so many times where he's flat for 2 rounds and then he just moves his way up the board. And I think we see it tomorrow. But that's why he's so good at the no-cut events. Like he just ends up working his way up the board on the weekend when he's out of contention. I think we see it tomorrow. Hatton, I think, wins this event. So I'll be playing him for sure tomorrow. Hovland, it's just tough for me after a guy just goes so low to get back on him. So I prefer the other guys in this range, but if you like them, I could potentially see it. Wyndham, maybe not fully sold on him, but I will be on Tommy. Picked him to win this week, and he's another guy at 4 or under that I think does move up. Played much better today. He was even round 1, 4 under today. I think he moves it up a little bit tomorrow. And then Homa, kind of playing solid golf now. 9K is a good price tag. He's 6 under in on him. So Scotty, Xander, Hatton, Fleetwood, my 4 favorites up here, and I like them quite a bit. And I do think it's a slate where stars and scrubs type builds make a ton of sense.
Yeah, you added my point there that I was just about to say. Definitely going to be heavier up top here. I'll go through my thoughts in a second, but Renegade asked, I think he asked this on the way out yesterday, so I apologize. I missed the question in the live chat last night. I think it was the last question of the day. What information does your projections include starting next week? Ownership and projected points, both. So it'll be player projections and ownership projections. The setup is so that if you're with us through our solver deal, you'll actually have them preloaded. The initial projections will come out on Tuesday. They'll be updated twice on Wednesday, once early on and then once late. Again, depending on weather, things like that, we'll make sure the final updates are in there, but you will have both. They'll be able to be viewed on the site. They'll be able to be downloaded, sorted, whatever you guys want. So you don't have to go through the solver. We're just saying if you are going to be with us and a member with us, you should join us through the solver, because pretty soon when everything is around, we will have the MLB, which we already have, PGA, MMA is getting launched next week as well for the same thing, ownership and projected points for the fighters. And then obviously when NFL, NBA, and NHL come around, we will have all 6 sports covered. They will all be updated accordingly and brought into the solver directly. So great question there. Up top here, Scotty left, I think he left them all. Let me just double check. This is a no-brainer, and I don't care. Again, he was 30% owned today, and it was just perfect. The setup is still, though, that some guys still do come through here in other spots where you don't necessarily need like other guys put up the same points, I'm saying, at less prices. So I get that thought. But again, left all 3 par 5s out there, bogey free. Rory lost 3 strokes with the putter and left 2 par 5s out there, only 1 bogey on the entire day. And Ricky left 1, 2, 3, all par 5s out there, plus made 5 birdies and is cheaper than both of them. So I actually like those 3. And then I don't like in between. I know you like, I'm going opposite of you. Your Rory take is so sound where he drops back tomorrow and then does his backdoor top 10 on Sunday. I'm actually thinking that's going to be Hatton. He even talked after the round today, and you can go see it, his putting stats. He said he putts better on these greens. So, of course, that could continue. That is true. If you go look up the long-term stats and everything, too, he does play better on this style course. That would make sense. I'm just going to hope he doesn't make as many birdies. He took care of the par 5s, all that stuff today. So I actually would rather move down. The guy I like is the last guy you mentioned. So I only really like the 4 guys up here, and the other one is Tommy Fleetwood, who, like you said, I think he's 4 under. Nothing to really worry about tomorrow, nothing to lose. 7 birdies today and left 2 of the par 5s out there, including making bogey on 1. Other than that, he actually lost almost a stroke and a half across 2 holes on approach and still gained almost a stroke on approach on the day. So I really like Tommy Fleetwood as well. So the 3 guys up top, Tommy Fleetwood at the bottom of that range for me are the 4 that stand out. Anything else there, Hoop? If not, you could take us into this 8K range, little smaller. It's just Lowry to Burns. Not much here, but I kind of liked your Justin Thomas take because he's chugging along again here. And again, just 3 under. It's not that serious. He can definitely find his way back in.
Yeah, I mean, the Justin Thomas take was more in regards to last year, not this year.
I'm saying, but coming into weather.
I don't know. I'm still off of that. I'm still not on him. Okay, just to be clear. But, I could be talked into him, I guess, but just for Showdown. Lowry, I think, could benefit from some tougher conditions. Obviously, he's used to this stuff. Tom Kim, I'll fade. Sam Burns, I'll fade. So, I mean, for me in this range, the one I like the most by far is Lowry. And then I don't mind the price tag on Min Woo. Came down a lot from like the main slate. Main slate, we were paying $8,900 for him. Now he's all the way down to like, what, 8.3? So Lowry and Min Woo in here for me. I don't love Tom Kim, don't love Burns. And then, I don't know. I'm sure you're going to try to talk me into JT. So maybe I'll finally play some JT, but I like those other two in this range more than anyone else.
Yeah, the chemistry is working well here. That's the only thing I had up was drop down box on Justin Thomas to say why you should play Justin Thomas tomorrow. Much better today, actually, almost double what he did day one with the irons. So that was strong. He needed some around the green game, but that's fine here. And if you go look, lost almost 3 strokes with the putter, left 2 par 5s out there, still made 3 birdies. And like I said, the putter was just way off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 holes, just ridiculous stuff. And again, can it happen again? Absolutely. We're talking about JT. It's kind of like the Scheffler thing where, it can't continue forever. Somehow it does. But point being, I definitely think he's a good play here. Again, at the price tag. That's what I think too many people focus on, winning versus DFS. There is no position placement points tomorrow. It doesn't matter if he moves up the board or if he stays exactly where he is and goes birdie, bogey, birdie, bogey, birdie, bogey all day. I don't care. I want the points in Showdown. Those 5.75 points per birdie much further outweigh anything else. So when I look at it from that perspective and at $8,500, I don't hate it. And then I guess, I was the one trying to talk people into Min Woo on the main slate. It's not quite come through fully. He made a cut for us, but at $8,900, not paying off yet. But he's definitely a guy I at least have some interest in. And it's not really the stats that will get you there because it was all putter day one. He lost with the putter, didn't really do much today on approach. But it was only 3 holes or so that he was really bad on approach. Left one of the par 5s out there, still made 3 birdies. So, again, price tag of Min Woo Lee at $8,300. I don't mind it. And then the one guy I wanted to look up, and then we'll go to the last range, or the 7K is the top there, Tom Kim. I think he'll be popular, man. But honestly, at that price tag and for what he did today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 birdies, still left the par 5 out there, not many mistakes, approach game pretty evenly dispersed and solid across the board. Again, at that price tag, I don't hate it. And the chat was talking about some bets. Xander 66. I'm assuming they mean Hovland at 60-1. Did you have any long shots that you were picking up?
Xander, I think, is interesting, man. Like I said, he's really good in the no cut stuff. Obviously, this is not a no cut, but when you're good in no cut events, like that indicates to me that you're getting to the weekend and finding a way to move up the leaderboard. If you start out slow, I think he's a perfect guy. I think that's a great bet. I mean, obviously, you're not putting your house on it, but you put a little money on it for sure. I like that move. I think Xander's the one that has a chance. It's only 6 out. He's only 6 out. If it's tough conditions and he shoots 4 under, 5 under tomorrow, he's going to be right there going into Sunday.
And the good news is it is a no cut now. Two days of full play.
Correct.
No more cut to be had. So maybe he does just use that. Also, I wanted to go back. I remember he was way back after round 1 last year and then came back to win the thing, obviously. I just wanted to see what his round by round progression was. So last year, shoots a 72. Mind you, the weather was tougher last year. I think, well, again, we'll see. Sunday's going to be really tough by the looks of it. So could come back to these scores, no problem. But anyway, 72, 65. Then he shot a round 3, 66, and a 70 was good enough to hang on Sunday to get the job done at 7 under. So, interestingly enough, that could be a thing to go to if lightning could strike twice for a guy like Xander. But he's up there. Like you said, he's not out of it completely. So let's move on. Let's go to this next range. Let's go to, what do we got here? Thomas Dietrich down to, let's include the 7,400 soup because my guy, Patty the Batty, your guy coming in pre-tournament, one of your favorite plays in our tier rankings, Davis Riley, was in the mix at 6,900. I don't think many were going there. And then another favorite of yours and the guy that tilts me beyond anything, outside that he's a great human, but Eric Cole at 7,400 as well. Let's do 7,400 and up. Talk to me about this range.
Yeah, this range for me is going to be a lot of the guys that I've been on all week. I'm kind of staying on, and that should be no surprise because Ryan Fox is in this range, and you guys know my love for him. So it's going to be a lot of the guys that I was on for the main, starting with Corey Connors. Sucked round 1. Really liked him going into round 2. Bounced back with the 5 under. Think he continues to play, and it's just, to me, he just doesn't belong in this range. Like, to me, he's better than a $7,800 guy in this field. Like he could easily be in the 8K. So I think we're getting a discount there. I'm going to stay on my guy, Bobby Mack, which we talked about. We used him as an example here in a couple situations so far throughout the show. 4 under, could definitely see him moving up a little bit. Fades for me like Benny on. I'm going to be off Benny on. I'm going to be off Patty Harrington, like just not going to be there. Bork, believe he had a good round today. I think he was not great first round. What do you shoot for us today? Bork, 4 under.
He came around today,
Yeah, in on him. You guys know I'm in on Fox at 7,500. 3 under today. I had a ho-hum 1 under today or yesterday, and then 4 under or 3 under today to put him at 4 under. Definitely sticking with him. Davis Riley, I think, is an interesting one. I do like him. Today he sucked. He was not very good today after having the solid round 1. I think he can bounce back tomorrow. And the nice thing about him, which we saw in round 1, when he starts making birdies, he has a chance to make a lot of them in a row. I think he made like 4 or 5 in a row in round 1. And the price is, 7,400 is somewhat uncomfortable. I think people do stay off him. And then, I'll be on some Cole at 7,400. So it's a range I like a lot. I said more stars and scrubs, I think, for tomorrow. When you go stars and scrubs, the 7K range becomes pretty important. I like a lot of these guys.
Yeah, and Lawton says, thank you, Hoop, for the Riley call, 6 of 6. Love to see that. I was just looking back, and the tier rankings, there's only 2 of us. This is the nice part. We don't have 100 things on the site where it's, if we're wrong, we're wrong. But if we're right, it can go a long way. We specialize in what we do. We don't try and do stuff at SHIPIT Nation that we don't have success in the past or try and excel in. And if you look here, we had Scotty, Rory, just between the 2 of us. Fleetwood, Hatton, Fowler was the only guys in the 9K range we had. Connors, Homa, JT, and then Scott hurt us, but that was our 8K range, so 3 of the 4. The 7K range, we both liked Fox. You liked Bobby Mack, and I had talked about him plenty, and then I had Woodland, who squeaked through for us. And then at the bottom, it was hurtful for Callum Tarrant for us, but Davis Riley being in the mix as well at 6,900 just came through. So love to see that. Good stuff over there with our tier rankings. That's just our favorite plays.
All the winners are live, though. Don't forget the winners at the bottom. I had Fleetwood and Higo. I don't know if they're live to win, but they all made the cut. Fleetwood and Higo. You had Hatton. So you should like my call today. You said
I go by everything. Just okay. I'm always the same guy that I say I am. Like I that's why I picked at the start, but then I do use the stats. You don't use them as much. Do I hope he still wins? Sure, that'd be great. But I think, like I said yesterday, I did this with Bjork. I said I did not like Alexander Bjork coming in on the main slate. He was going to be over-owned, I thought. He actually ended up coming in way over-owned at like 22% in some places, but he's paid it off now. He's through at that price tag. But I said I do like him yesterday or today, I should say, for Showdown, because you have to change your stands based on that. It's just what I see is really Hatton's just getting there with the putter completely. He's still hitting it well. The irons are good. The approach looks good on the stats. I'm just saying when the putting has to continuously be the piece that adds up. It was his own quote. He said, that's what you have to do in these tournaments. As everybody knows, whoever putts the best comes out and wins these things. Can he continue it tomorrow and for 2 more days? I don't know, but I liked him coming into the week because everything has been going his way in the other tournaments besides winning. It was almost like what we saw come to fruition with Ricky Fowler, where he's showing up. Just when is he going to win? And we saw it with Jason Day earlier this season. We've seen it with plenty of guys where this has happened. But to answer your question, Matthew, here, I just saw it pop up and Peter brought it up. We talked about this off the top already, if you want to rewind back, but also not seeing anything there that we're focusing on. So just keeping that in mind.
And the main reason is they condensed the tee times. I think there's weather later, so they got everyone teeing off within a 2-hour window, so it's tight.
Yeah, and then Kevin brought this up. Romain Langasque, a guy who I actually had in as well and took out. I wish I did not do that in some, but
it didn't really matter because the other guy's not. It is wide open though, man. I'm being serious. Like on the main slate, it is very wide open if you have some 6 of 6s in there.
Yeah, I agree for sure. All right, I got my my stats back here to bring up. Was there other guys? Did anybody, if you guys have it, throw in the chat that you want me to pull up the stats on? One I wanted to look at, you brought up Connors. We don't usually see this. Corey Connors, by the way, Hoop, I know you talked on him, but he absolute hero today. Like down the stretch, normally it goes the other way with him for whatever reason, but he started on the back 9, grinded out a 2 under, bogey free, finished the whole round bogey free, mind you, 5 under. But if you look, it was getting a little shaky. I know people in the Discord when he didn't make anything happen on the par 5. All of a sudden at the very end, just bangs out a birdie, little streak out, and then a par at the last. So good job for Corey Connors. Definitely helpful to all of our lineups. Love that. but he's a guy I think still looks fine for tomorrow. When you go look at the stats and the numbers, very solid. What we say is he lost, what was it? I talked about it on the show yesterday. Yeah, great spot that we looked at yesterday where everybody looks for the guys that are hitting it great on approach, but losing putting. He was losing almost 4 strokes on approach. And I just said on the show yesterday, that's where you have to flip the other way. One of the best ball strikers in the world. Sounds crazy to say, but he literally is. When you go pull the stats, even over a long period of time, he's just so good with his irons. It's always his putter that gives him trouble. And if he can fix that, we'll see him win a lot more than he has on tour, obviously winning the Valero a couple times. But just looking at it from this perspective, almost gained 2 on approach today. Still left 2 of the par 5s out there. Again, like you said, Hoop, going down to this price point, I don't know why he is 7,800 based off of that. It's not like an extreme misprice, but it just doesn't seem right overall. So see what else we got here. Who else did you bring up there? Harmon, I don't know. I don't think I'll go to like Harmon, Benny Ann, those guys to continue. Fox, definitely in on with you there. Again, say what you want. I know he's not your boy, but he's mine for sure. Patty the Batty Harrington. People just sleep on this guy because he's old. He's 51. That's it. Like, he can grind his way out at these types of courses, especially. So I definitely think he's a good play. And we'll get to this guy later. Grant Forrest, our guy Keith, K-Craps. Like I talk about him all the time. Great guy in our Discord over there. He was round 2, the Fantasy Golf World Championship last week. I think he just exited that, but co-winner of the FanDuel NBA Live Final that I was at this past year in Nashville. So great DFS player in our Discord. Very helpful from that perspective. He brought us a couple Discord plays of the day. Yesterday, we had Assassins in our Discord. His username brought us Ben Taylor at 6,100, put up, I think, 40 DK points. Was definitely a nice little balance there if you could have got some other guys up top. But just in general, lots of ways you can go here. So not much else I'm seeing in this range, Hoop, that I've got interest in. Take us down into this next range. 7,300 and down starts with Nikolai Højgaard, who went out and just crushed today. 64 DK points was needed in the winter.
Yeah, I'm fine playing some of him tomorrow. I mean, does he go back-to-back in the winter? Yeah, probably not. But, man, playing well. I liked him coming into the week. Fine staying on him at 73. I'm going to stay with this dude, Yannick Paul. I had him in my core today with Connors and Scheffler. Obviously, he was a whiff today, big whiff. But I'm going to go back to him. Romain Lettuce, I like that name because I have no idea how to pronounce his real name. I guess it almost looks like lasagna, too. So you could go lettuce or some romaine
lasagna with some Caesar salad. That's a nice dish. That's
right. Yeah, so you got the Caesar to pasta, Caesar salad and some pasta. Don't mind that. But I do like him tomorrow. 7,200 going to stay there. Mr. Juice Luton, 7,200. I'm in on him. Harry Hall, nice round today, 5 under. I like him going into tomorrow as well. And then Mr. Ewan Ferguson, got him on the main slate. He's been playing good. Actually, he's at 7K range. So there's my first 6.9K guy that I like him. So again, with the way that I want to build teams tomorrow, this range is very valuable. I got a nice chunk of guys here that I like.
Yeah, and John asked about him anyway, so I'll pull the stats in a second. I'll round out the 7K range. We're kicking off with him and then kick it back over to you for the 6s. And K Crab says, sorry to jump ahead. No worries. We're good with that. We'll look up. Someone mentioned Wyndham. I don't think either of us really talked about him. I didn't pull his stats though either, but someone, mentioned him now. And just a note on him, he actually is interesting. That's why I circle back. 5 birdies today, left 2 par 5s out there. Very solid stats across the board when it comes to his game. So Wyndham,
yeah, I'm good.
Another guy I would mark down. He's at 94. Yeah. So I think if I play those 3 guys up top, Wyndham and Fleetwood, I feel like that's a good start to the pool, and then throw in a bunch of guys down here at the bottom. Someone mentioned Nick Taylor. Nick Taylor, if you go look at his stats, lost almost 4 strokes with the putter, left all 3 par 5s out there. Definitely like Nick Taylor. And then there was somebody else that someone was, Højgaard. Actually, I know you don't check out the stats too often on this Hoop, but if you just delete the K on Nick and drop it down to a C, it'll give me Nikolai, and gained almost 4 strokes on approach, took care of the par 5s, including a hole out around the Green Eagle on 3, but he had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 birdies and an eagle while losing just over, I should say not almost 2, but just over a stroke and a half with the putter. So really, that's a guy that I think will be popular, but maybe for good reason. Yeah. And again, not expecting 7 birdies and an eagle. That's where I think people confuse it, but also don't require anywhere near that necessarily at a $7,300 price tag. Again, you'll need something. I'm not saying you don't need everything, because you need, if a guy puts up 64 points around, you probably need that guy instead. But I'm saying it's just a confusion of, no matter what, he's not going to do what he did today. First of all, he could. Second of all, what if he puts up 55 tomorrow or 58 at that price tag? It's much less than 64 the day before, but it's still a great number and something that can give you an edge. So I don't mind that. And then who's the other guy there that I was going to look up? There was one more. Oh, Romaine. When you said him, I just wanted to see his stats real quick. Wow, gained almost 4 strokes with the putter. So, again, don't expect that. But what's interesting is, man, he really crushed it with the putter. Like, almost every hole, he was just making everything. So there's something to be said for that. I don't expect him to gain 3.5. But can he still gain with the putter tomorrow? Yes. And I'm just seeing if there's anybody else in here who I really love. The chat can throw some guys out there if they want. I think I want to look up Eckroat, too. I know he made the eagle down the stretch. Looked like throughout the day, 5 birdies, an eagle, left 2 of the par 5s out there and messed them up. So one thing I like about this hoop is a guy like Eckroat. Oh, and interesting. Yeah, Kang just threw him in the chat. Says lost 1.3 around the green, but kept up the putter, bogeyed 4 holes. Now, the thing about lost 1.3 with the around the green that I don't love is that he also gained over a stroke around the green, almost a stroke and a half around the green on that one chip in for the eagle. But when you're playing a guy in Showdown, you're not really worried about around the green, because you're hoping they're hitting greens and being able to make these putts and give themselves opportunities for your scoring in Showdown, especially when there's no placement points involved. Even, in both it matters, but especially when they're not there, because all you need is that scoring. But just in general, I like more so the mentality hoop. Absolutely nothing to lose. Earned his paycheck. He's through. Even if he's messing around with some stuff for next week, he can just fire away. And that's where, you may have some bogeys on the card. I wouldn't expect the bogey-free round from him, but I definitely think it's interesting that you can get some scoring from just firing at these pins and finding out what works. He can definitely go low from that perspective. And then somebody wanted Kitayama. How much is Kitayama?
73.
73, yeah. Definitely interest there as well. Kitayama left the par 5 out there, 5 under bogey-free, really solid on approach across the board pretty evenly, even while losing pretty bad on a couple holes, just 2. So overall solid. Those 2 bad holes hurt that number. It would have been even better. And then lost evenly across the board, very evenly, to lose almost 2.5 strokes with the putter. So I definitely think Kitayama is in play at 7,300 as well. And then I'll kick off the 6K with just that one guy and then let you take over, Hoop. But Ferguson's stats, solid if you just were looking like, what did he do? No real mistakes. 2 under bogey-free round. But then you look at the actual stuff and just nothing good, nothing bad. Left 2 of the par 5s out there, only 2 birdies on the day, obviously 2 under bogey-free. That tells that story. Round 1, though, he was much, much better on approach. I'm just going to quickly pull that again. I know we looked at it yesterday, but approach was really solid yesterday. I think we did look this up, where he had started on the back 9, was on fire, and then slowed down a little bit on his back 9, which was the front. So you can go back to him. I don't think there's any problem. I think now would be the day where people are more likely off of him, because he's still T10, but the stats don't show anything that are going to get people excited about it. So I definitely think that's a way to go. And Kevin says, another day growing cannabis and just listening to y'all talk golf. What a day in the life of Kevin.
Man.
Rambo Tambo doubled my money for a free show. I mean, let's go. No problem. Do us a favor, if you guys can, hit the like button. Subscribe to the Mayo Media Network. And the extra favor, this is where the free stuff comes in and we get excited about it. Just open up a tab, go to the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station, subscribe there. We just hit 2,000. We're going to be giving away a couple monthly memberships next Tuesday for the big major show, the freemium special, as we always do. But then we're also going to have more giveaways and stuff leading up to football. So you will want to be subscribed to the YouTube channel. All those other free shows, MMA, baseball's back. We got the Witching Hour coming up here shortly, where we're back on the baseball show. Huge slate tonight back in the MLB DFS streets. So with that said, Hoop, let's take it away, man. 6K range. What do you got down here?
Yeah, I mean, just like the main slate, it's not great, but you can obviously take more risks in Showdown. So some of the guys that I'll be looking at down here for tomorrow, I got like 5, 6, maybe 7 tagged. Talked about Ferguson, your boy Jordan L. Smith, 6,900. I think good price tag for him. Antoine,
you cannot punt. Like we knew this coming in, kind of.
Yeah.
Man,
maybe he gets lucky. Punt. Maybe he gets lucky and makes a couple for us tomorrow. That's what we're banking on. Fine going. He was in like the 7K range on the main slate, right? So he's come down a little bit. So 69. I'm good going back to him a little bit there. Antoine Rosner, 6,800. I think I'm fine with him. Marcel Siem, Seam, or however you pronounce his name, 68. Ben Griffin, 6,700. Will Gordon, man, one of my last cuts on the main slate was Will Gordon, and he's been playing well. I think he's sitting at like 5 under so far. Yeah, 5 under. Cool going to him for round 3. One of my favorites down here, though, is Lee Hodges, 6,600. Talked about on the show on Tuesday, where missed a couple cuts in a row, but it was right there. He's 3 under, and at those birdie fests, it just wasn't enough. So it's not like he's playing terrible, didn't make enough putts. Made the cut here. Interested in him, and then Mr. Higo as well. I'll stay on Higo at 6,900. He's sitting at 4 under. So 7 or 8 guys down here, not super appealing, not all-in type plays by any means. Just guys to play in order to get those stars and scrubs teams to all work out.
Higo, pretty interesting, actually. Just a quick note on him, because, again, this is not a guy that I would see as like a top ball striker, but just in general, like even the day before was solid on approach and ended up doing more of his work with the putter, but losing almost 3 on approach today, still goes out and makes 5 birdies while leaving 2 of the par 5s out there. So to me, that's a guy I can look back on, because if you can say it about putter, I can definitely say it about irons. I mean, you can find your irons in a day just as well. So I think that's fine. For me, it's usually less likely, but when he just had him the day before, it's not like we're saying he's reaching or searching for something that we could see here. So I think that one's good. Seam, I didn't like as much. The chat was talking about him too. You mentioned him. Rosner, I think we can go back to. I like the Griffin call. Funny enough about like Lee Hodges and stuff. Hodges, Gordon, those are the guys I usually like at the birdie fest more, but they come through at this and make the cut instead. And it's fine. It's just the way golf works. That's why it's one of those games, right? Where one week you got it, one you don't. You do have to make the putts, though, at those birdie fests. But now it's time to bring up our guy, K-Krabs. He talked about Grant Forrest. This guy was solid on day one. Day one, he went out and put up a 1 under round, left 2 of the par 5s out there, but was solid on approach, just couldn't find the putter. Comes back in round 2, gains 2 strokes with the putter, but he did it with approach as well, especially his back 9 where he was dialed, and he made 6 birdies on the day, took care of the par 5s, and now he's pretty cheap still. So I think he's a guy you could definitely go back to down here in this range. And I'm just trying to see, I wanted to see Matt Wallace's stats, because I feel like he started really hot today and then disappeared a little bit. Yeah, Matt Wallace, he did have the eagle, where that's where he got a lot of his approach stats from. But overall, he actually gained huge on approach while losing around the greens and with the putter and leaving 2 par 5s out there. Still 4 birdies and an eagle. So I like Matt Wallace as well down in this range. I don't know, Hoop, if there's anybody else that really stands out. Another guy we had yesterday in the player pool after the fact was Soderberg. He came out, made 4 birdies, left 1 of the par 5s out there and gained on approach around the green, lost a little bit with the putter. He's T10, but again, super cheap. So I'm just not sure if there's anybody else. And then our guy, Ben Taylor, who our other guy, Assassins, talked about. I'm going to go pull how he did it with the stats real quick, but I know he had a good round today. So let me just see.
Yeah, well, I mean, with a lot of these guys down here, it depends on what you're doing with your teams. Are you playing a ton of Scotty Scheffler? If you're playing a lot of Scotty Scheffler, you're going to have to add in some 6K guys. Are you playing a lot of Rory and Scotty Scheffler? You're going to have to add in more 6K guys. Are you trying to get a lot of Ricky Fowler but in your lineups, Ricky and Scotty and Rory? If you're trying to do that, you got to play more 6K guys. If you're not necessarily trying to get overloaded on those 10K guys, you don't necessarily need to come down here as often. So, it also depends how many teams you're building and whatnot. For me, I got it up on the site now. I think that's 7 or 8 guys tagged in that range, and those are the ones I feel comfortable with. Showdown, though, definitely feel comfortable, taking more chances and playing more if you want.
Yeah, one thing I will say, at least with some of my lineups, I don't think I'm going to build in sets or anything for this. I think I'll just see how it shakes out. But I do see a spot here where, again, we do have what looks like at least pretty similar to this afternoon. Actually, the winds are a little less, so I could see some scoring still there. Obviously, the gusts are high, but just bringing it into note that it does get tougher on the weekends in some cases at these events and overseas and with the wind and with all that stuff we talked about, where you could set it up that you go with some Scotty lineups and instead of jamming too many guys up top, get some more balanced builds and not have to go down here. But I don't mind it. I'm definitely going to be doing it. Like you said, our guy, Ben Taylor, 5 birdies, left 2 of the par 5s out there and was pretty solid, but it was mostly around the green, lost on approach and with the putter. And then somebody said Daniel Hillier who I mentioned yesterday, but said I wasn't too super high on it. It was just funny that someone mentioned him to me coming in. He did his job. Well, he did it again. I want to say he is actually bogey free on the tournament right now. And I'm not sure how many guys are, but he went 4 under, or sorry, 1 second. He made two bogeys on day one. He was bogey free today. 4 under, while leaving 2 of the par 5s out there, and gained over a stroke and a half on approach, lost a half stroke with the putter. So Hillier will be the last guy for me to mention. He was at 7,100, and I forgot about him. So that's a good call by the chat who brought him up. Cap City Code. Hillier seems like he won't fall off too hard, and he is talented. Like I said, I think it was a win and a third in 2 of his recent events, again, on the DP World Tour. But now that we got this leaderboard, Hoop, it's kind of a enhanced DP World Tour leaderboard. A lot of those guys did come through and make the cut. So they're more than comfortable in these conditions. This type of field setup, you can be starstruck by some of those other guys that are up there, like the Scotties, which is why, to the point someone brought up earlier, like you think Hatton could win this one. Hoop has him winning now. I had him winning coming in. Yeah. I look at now like, okay, Scotty's on his ass and Rory's up there and all that. I just think it's harder now. But again, guys playing world class. It's Hatton. It makes sense. And then one more thing. We did mention Kurt Kitayama. Shout out to Binks. The Nebula, baby. He tags me every day.
Is that what that is? Is that it? The Nebula? What is it?
He's got to tell us on Twitter, man. It's like the most I forget what he called it. It's like the top-notch thing that's going to take over the DFS world. So talk to Binks on Twitter. Kang says, how do you feel about Lingmerth? 3 birdies, 3 bogeys, gained strokes on the putter, but lost strokes on virtually everything from this. I'll pull him up before we get out of here just so
yeah, I mean, any of these dudes like him, like, all right, so 6,300. Like, yeah, you want to take a chance in Showdown and hope that he goes 2 or 3 under tomorrow and, gets you some of the big dogs. I think you can make a case. It's hard pressed to find, especially the cheap guys.
This is so tough, yeah. You said it. It's what I always talk about. You're talking about 6K guys like that, and you go look at it. Day 1 gains 3 strokes on approach. Game 2 loses 3 strokes on approach. He still manages to make the cut and sneak through. So if you want to go there, I just think you need to take your stands. Like Hoop said, he's playing guys down here, but he's playing his guys. And what I mean by that, he's not going to have, well, let me get a sprinkle of this one. Let me get Higo in one lineup just to say I have a Higo lineup. Like, who cares at that point? Like, it just doesn't even matter or make any sense. So I definitely think that's something to bring up. Kurt Kitayama, we mentioned. And then, Jordan, I think the stormy conditions are going to throw a spanner in the works tomorrow. You know what that means, Hoop?
No clue.
Throw a spanner in the works tomorrow. Someone in the chat, let me know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got an origin. We've got it. Do something that prevents a planner activity from succeeding.
No,
a spanner in the works. I like this.
So I guess that's makes sense.
My thing is always to learn something new every day, like the saying goes, Hoop. So definitely learn something new there with that. So anything else, if you guys have it? If not, Hoop, I'll go to you. Give me final thoughts. Anything else you want to talk about? Ship It Nation. Anything we've got going on that you want to bring up before we get out of here? Last show of the week before the major next week.
Yeah, I mean, MLB's back, obviously, tonight. We have all that content posted or in the process of getting posted. Got the show coming up here, 4:30 Eastern. And then MMA card tomorrow. It's not the best card, but the prize pools are big for MMA. It's a growing DFS sport. Prize pools are big, and we have 2 of the best in the industry breaking it down. Not myself. I was on the show today, but I am not one of the content providers for MMA. We have Title Town and we have Big Marley doing a phenomenal job on the content there. And I believe it is almost all posted. So get on over there, check it out. And it is truly a big time growing DFS sport. We saw, PGA grow massively over the last few years. I think MMA really has a chance to be a sport that really begins to grow from a DFS perspective. We've already seen it, but I think we could see it even bigger moving forward. So we have 2 of the best in the business, obviously breaking it down. So make sure you get on over there, check it out. $59 for the month at shipitnation.com. $599 for the annual package gets you everything on the site. And like we talked about last week on our show, we've already started the process of building our NFL product, which is going to be top of the class. I mean, it is going to be absolutely phenomenal what we're doing. Innovative, game changer for DFS. So we're looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, we got some real special stuff with NFL. I know it sounds like people, they're just saying this and all. Again, we've done nothing but do what we say and then some since bringing the site out. Anything people asked for, we said we try and under-promise, over-deliver. We continue to trickle stuff out weekly. That's our main goal. If we say we're going to provide everything you need to have success with DFS, we have to do so. and that's what we've been focused on. Hoop just mentioned it. The thing about the price, though, I think people think this is a bit of a joke too, but like the price should go up as more gets added. That's why we have it slashed out from 69 to 69. We said it would never go more than that. Other sites are coming out now. New sites are even being created at similar price points or less, and that's okay. We know what we have. We're excited about it. The community is top notch when you're in there. The Discord is incredible. Lots of great stuff going on. It follows our same philosophy of less is more. You don't have 100 channels in there trying to talk about every single topic across the space. Our people will vouch for us. They can talk about it in the YouTube chat. You can go on and find out. There's lots of different people that you could talk to about it for sure. But I just think in general, that's going to be something. And then like Hoop said, the annual at $5.99, you can upgrade to it if you're already with us and just pay the difference. But it gets you a setup at $49 a month for everything that's included. So when we add NFL, when we add all these other things, again, we didn't have MMA when we started. We have it now. We didn't have anybody or anything to do best ball. Now we have last year's Drafters champion, Titletown, in there talking about Drafters with Marley, who they combine well on MMA, but they also combine well for best ball. And then we have PGA projections and ownership coming now. We have MMA projections and ownership coming now. And then with NFL, like Hoop said, we're just going to have a ton of great stuff that we haven't even put it on the site yet because we're saving it. We don't want other people to do the same as us. And if you go look right now on shipitnation.com, free to check out, click NFL. It's just a drop down. You can't click anything, but you'll see all the stuff we have coming. And then if I told you there's one more side menu and 3 more things missing from there that we'll get into as we get closer to the season, on top of other categories that we're going to bring to the site as well. Again, all included for the one price. So last one, Roman, we talked about this. Hoops got him. I had him pre-tourney. He really thinks he's closing the deal. I might have to sneak him into my player pool tomorrow just to have a few shares up top on some 2v2s or something, Hoop, because you're so confident. But I loved how you broke down the Rory one. I just like applying it to Hatton. I like Hatton to fail tomorrow and then find his way out on Sunday to entice people for the Open again, because he obviously is playing some incredible golf. That's going to do it for this one, though, guys. Like I said, we will be back next week on this station, same channel, same place. Everything that we've got going on is going to be Hoop and myself, round 2 and round 3 showdown here on the Mayo Media Network. I threw the link in the chat. If you guys can do us a favor on the way out, click that. Go subscribe to the Ship It Nation YouTube channel. That's going to do it for this one, though, guys. For Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it!